have an expert here who knows all about what to do if you fail your A-level exams. So I've got Miss Estrick here from Miss Estrick Biology.
Hello.
And hopefully, I guess a lot of the advice we're going to talk about won't be applicable to you if you're watching this now. But I've got some questions about what students can do, maybe as they're approaching their final results day in August, about maybe how to prepare for the day. And if maybe they don't quite get the grades that they were hoping for, what are the options about clearing, about different courses and so on?
Yeah, so I've been a sixth form tutor for the last 10 years from when this video is. It was 10 years as a sixth form tutor. So this was something that we always talked about before students went on study leave. And one aspect is to think about how to prepare for results day. And there's not lots that you need to do to prepare, but there are a few things you can do so that you feel more in control on the day and ready for whatever the outcome might be. So one thing is making sure that you know the emails and phone numbers for the universities that you've applied for.
Yeah.
So if you don't happen to get the grades, or if there's anything else that has changed, you've got those to hand so that you can go and phone them if you need to on that day. So it's just useful to have it all available there. It is going to be readily available online, so you can always find it online on the day, but just to save that job and hassle, it is useful to have it all bookmarked somewhere, definitely.
Yeah, and I think it's a good idea to have, obviously, you know the sixth form that you've been to. It's good to make sure that you know the people that you might need to talk to there.
Yeah.
If it's sometimes the exams officer or maybe the head of sixth form or the deputy head. I'm sure that every school does it slightly differently.
Yeah, they will do, yeah.
But there's often somebody there who's probably going to be well used to students actually coming in and maybe having questions on the day when the results are actually given out.
Yeah, exams officer, head of sixth form, those are definitely good options, because you might decide that you want to have a remark if you need that for your grade, so you need to know who you'd have to speak to on the day at your school to help with that.
Yeah, and in terms of, again, preparing for the day, would you advise going with all your friends, going with friends and family, all kind of trailing you to kind of see you open an envelope, or?
I think you're going to have to think about what you will feel most comfortable with. Do you want to go with a group of friends or family for moral support for whatever the outcome's going to be?
Yeah.
Or does that feel like way too much pressure and you'd much rather go by yourself, open it, respond how you want to feel or react to it, and then tell people when you're ready? I think you need to decide what will be most comfortable for you, and then talk about that with your family so they don't get offended last minute and realise this is your justification and why.
Yeah, there's not going to be this big reveal. I mean, personally for me, I'd rather go and look at it myself.
Yeah.
So if it's not quite what I was hoping for, I'm not kind of on display on public if it's maybe not the information I need.
Yeah.
But I think it really depends on what you like, really.
Yeah, my mum was the head of sixth form at my school,
Oh
and my
my
chemistry
gosh.
teacher.
Wow, that's
intense.
intense.
It was intense. So I made it clear that I did not want to open it in front of her.
Yeah.
But she still had to be in the room because she was the head of sixth form at my school. So I went to a little corner and opened it where she subtly pretended she wasn't watching, but she was definitely watching the entire time.
But I guess you had advice on hand then about what to do next.
Yeah, exactly. I knew what to do, so it was double-edged sword there.
Okay, so I think, again, I must just stress that no matter what you get in your A-level results, if you pass that A-level, if you're getting a grade E or higher, you've still passed A-level.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy thing to do, is it? Because
No, absolutely not.
Because it's not that everybody does A-levels, especially in like the sciences, which are kind of quite seen as rigorously demanding. So if you scraped an E grade, then you've passed A-level physics, and for the rest of your life, after you're an adult, then nobody's going to really ask you about which grade you got. They're just going to know that you've got an A-level physics or an A-level biology course.
Yeah.
But sometimes people don't quite get the grades that they need to get into their first choice university. Or first of all, if they get the grades they need, what do they do?
If you get the grades that you need, you don't really need to do anything as long as you still want to go to your firm choice, because that means you are automatically in.
Yeah.
You might have to reconfirm something later on, but if you've got the grades, you are into your firm choice. So that's that. More and more people aren't getting the grades now, though, and a lot of that is linked to the fact that predicted grades are getting higher and higher, and universities are making offers based on this, but then more and more students aren't reaching those incredibly aspirational predicted grades. So there is more people each year that we're seeing are not getting the grades they were offered,
right,
but they're still getting in based on the grades that they got.
And so the student, say for example, you need to get A, and you got maybe A, B, B, rather than going that's it, my life is over, what's the best thing? Would they contact the university directly?
If they got lower than they were offered,
Yeah.
and they've already checked on UCAS that they still haven't got in with that lowered grade, because you might actually open your results first and then see on UCAS you've still got in.
Yeah.
If that isn't the case, though, and you haven't, then one of the options is going through clearing. And you'll see a more detailed video on how clearing works on my YouTube channel, which is Miss Estruck Biology. But basically there is like a database of all the universities that still have spaces for all the different courses. You can then have a look through, and based on what grades you have got for the different courses, you can see if they would offer you a place, and then you phone them up on the day. So that's like the simplest premise of how it works.
Okay, and I guess in advance then it might be worth having a look at just some other courses or maybe other options. So if you didn't get what you needed, rather than going in as a panic and just taking the first course that's available that you see, it might be worth having a look at other similar courses, other institutions, to maybe find what might be some of your preferred options if you do have to choose something else.
And there won't be much available on clearing until results day, because that's when lots of spaces are released because students haven't met the grades.
Okay.
But it is worth you just having a think in general, what are similar courses that if it became available you would be happy to go and take. But you don't have to decide there and then on the day. Clearing, once you do phone up a university and they confirm your new spot, you usually get around 24 hours to make your decision. Sometimes it's a bit longer, but they'll tell you when you call them. So you don't have to decide instantly.
Yeah, and I think whatever happens, even if you don't get the right grades that you're hoping for, a couple of months down the line, once you're at a different university with a different course with a load of new friends, people don't really care. People don't really ask about how people got to university. They just assume that everybody's turned up, everybody's got the grades they wanted, and then you sort of forget about this whole process, which doesn't maybe make it seem easier at the time.
No, it's hard to realise that when you're living it, and it feels really scary and you don't know what's going to happen next. But whichever university you go to, people love their university. You make your friends there. The course is always really good. Wherever you end up, it might not have been your first choice or your like plan A, but you will still really enjoy it. And then there is also the other option of, if you don't get the grades, there was nothing on clearing that you felt was a good fit for you, you could then take a gap year. So you could do the option of taking a gap year, and that might mean that you're just going to reapply next year with the existing grades that you've got.
Yeah.
Or you might reapply next year and decide to resit some of your A-levels if you think you need to get a higher grade for whatever it is that you're wanting to do.
And I think sometimes people also can do a foundation year at university.
Yeah.
And that kind of, if they maybe missed out on the grades they needed, but it gives them a whole year of learning stuff, obviously in the university environment. And that's another great option, that then when people start the course, they're in a much better position to actually continue with the rest of the course, really.
Yeah, definitely. And that can sometimes be an easier way to get into that university afterwards as well, if you've done the foundation course with them.
Yeah, so lots and lots of options there. And of course, even if you're not going to university, there's still plenty of other options for you in the world of work, in terms of apprenticeships, or even like running your own business, which is what we both do now. So if there's anything else you need to help you, I know you've got a huge amount of stuff on your channel.
Yeah.
And of course, talking about running businesses, we also do both provide courses and other tuition for students doing A-level biology and A-level physics.
So best of luck with results day, however it ends up going.